Welcome. Thank you, Mr. Richard. In a short period of notice, you come and you join. Basically, we are World Talent Economic Forum. We're trying to make a collaborations in between around the world, especially tech industry.
Yes,
And you are one of the best innovators from Malaysia side. You have a long experience uh, about Cyberjaya, and you do a lot of work. Today, first of all, our audience, we actually want to know about you, and we want to know about the Cyberjaya, about the innovation of Malaysia.
yes, of course. First of
Yes.
all, Tarek, thank you for your time. Thank you for inviting me to join this Facebook Live session. I truly appreciate it. So today, I would like to take this opportunity to share with you some of the exciting things happening in Malaysia in terms of innovation, especially what has been happening over the last 5 to 10 years, which is amazing, I should say, because as you know, Malaysia started off with a country that is fully reliant on agriculture, and then eventually it evolved, and then we started to do a lot of manufacturing. In fact, a lot of the electrical appliances at your home, you might notice that some of them are actually made in Malaysia. Malaysia is also famous for its rubber. Back in the 60s, 70s, and right until 80s. And during the recent pandemic, 2000, the recent coronavirus pandemic, you would probably have seen on the news that Malaysia produced the world's best rubber gloves. So that's actually what have been happening in Malaysia in the first 30 to 40 years after the independence, and then eventually Malaysia moves into the higher value chain in the economy, where it moves started to focus on information technology back in the late 90s, and then eventually into tech and innovation to what it is today.
Okay, very interesting. Today, actually, we will learn about Malaysia, especially you have a lot of experience, especially tech industry. But in this situation, we know that Malaysia doing very good. They control COVID-19, and step by step they move forward. They open up their business, and actually, what's the reason? How technology playing a very good roles, and what the healthcare systems? Like I'm from subcontinent,
Mhm.
so basically many people here come for doing job, doing study, but what the healthcare system and what the innovation and technology, like how we get involved with these things.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. First of all, it is quite unknown, but to many Malaysians and as also some of the expats, the impression about Malaysia, it's just a place for people to go for holidays, which in fact Malaysia has probably one of the best healthcare system in the world, and not many people know that except those who are actually looking for good healthcare system. So in fact, one of the things that the government of Malaysia has been promoting is to promote Malaysia as a place for health tourism, whereby people come to Malaysia for holidays, but at the same time to get very affordable treatment. And this treatment or the healthcare system is actually quite world class, probably due to the fact that a lot of Malaysians went to study overseas in trying to be a doctors, and of course at the same time Malaysia has a lot of universities that allow students to study medicine. So along the lines, you have the combination of good healthcare system, and then you have the country that focuses on technology and innovation. So if you marry these together, so when the coronavirus pandemic happened, it gives Malaysia sort of like an edge to be able to to control the spread of the disease. But at the same time, when the movement control order was initiated by the government in March 18th, the country was able to flatten the curve because for the first few weeks we had a huge spike or huge increase in terms of uh, the 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 spread of the virus. But eventually, after close to about 2.5 months now, since the first lockdown was announced, now Malaysia has, from 3 digit to right to like 2 digits daily. So in terms of innovation, one of the things that I've noticed happening over the last few weeks, in terms of the authorities, in terms of controlling the sorry, enforcing the movement control order. They use technology like drones, where they fly drones, replacing a number of police cars on the roads by simply using drones that are able to capture a huge amount of area, and at the same time they use public announcements using drones. And we also have robotics companies in a very short period whereby they develop robotics that able to serve people in hospitals, where they're able to reduce the contact between patients and the frontliners. And also, one of some of the things that we have been noticing over the past 2 or 3 weeks, for example, since Malaysia has started to open up for the business. So every time when you go to certain shops, you need to register and then take your body temperature. So it has been digitized as well, whereby you just take your smartphone, scan a QR code, and then once your temperature is scanned, you just simply put in your temperature, and then it tracks where were the shops that actually visited. So for example, if you are actually, or somebody around within the shopping center is actually infected with the coronavirus, they're able to to contact you immediately to go for testing. So those are just some examples.
Okay, okay, very interesting. One thing, like I observe, even I'm come from overseas, like Malaysian people, they are very disciplined. I saw, like when I go to market, I saw like shopping malls, everybody maintaining queues, very
Mhm.
disciplined, very obedient. What's the reason actually? Is it the culture that Malaysian people are so cute? Actually, I feel that very peaceful. Even around the world, when I go, even before I come to Malaysia, I visited many countries. But I love to come here. I find here people is very cute. What's the reason? Is it the culture, origin, what? It's very interesting. I love to know from you.
I think that's a good question, but it's a combination of a lot of things, probably education, culture, and
Mhm.
also somehow I think most Malaysians are disciplined, but of course there are some Malaysians who are not really disciplined at the same time, because when, for example, when the movement control order they just started to enforce, there was still a lot of people who are non-compliance. For example, they simply leave homes, and then they travel to one place to another, and not obeying the laws. But as you know, in general, Malaysians are, they will listen to the actual orders by the government, because it's for the greater good. Because the longer, I mean, if you're not obeying the rules, that means there's a high possibility that the infection rate might go up, and then it might extend the amount of time for the movement control order. So nobody wants to stay at home for a long time, right? So I guess probably that's one of the reasons.
Yes, thank you. And one of the important thing, like you are expert of innovations. So, what's the future? How Malaysia actually develop like a city like Cyberjaya? How they attract a lot of international global companies? How we make it breathing, and that is the thing. So like how they build up the whole Cyberjaya. Yes,
Yeah, sure.
I think I have many audience. They always ask me how Cyberjaya builds, what the situation, how is Malaysia, how we can do works. It's a very interesting, like how you build up your ecosystem.
Yes. So Malaysia embarked in the, as I mentioned earlier, embarked in the technology and innovation quite early compared to most countries. In fact, it was in mid 1990s when it was announced that Malaysia is embarking on what they call today a digital transformation, basically moving the economy from the traditional manufacturing to a knowledge-based economy. So back then, nobody knew the concept. When it was announced by then Prime Minister and Malaysia's seventh Prime Minister, Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, the concept was really new. So it also created a sort of like a controversy when it was announced, because when he wanted to bring Malaysia into the information age, essentially he wants to build a new city from scratch, which today we call Cyberjaya, and that was back in 1997. So even back then, the Malaysia government did something quite extraordinary, whereby there was a panel set up led by the leaders from a lot of these multinational companies, such as Microsoft, Sun Microsystem, IBM, becoming a huge panel. And then this panel actually helps to consult, giving consultation to the Malaysian government. How should you build an ecosystem or a country that relies on technology? So over the years, that is about 20 over years ago, and today we started to see the results. People embrace technology quite quickly. Even places like Cyberjaya, which is just located 25 minutes away from the Kuala Lumpur city center. We have a huge amount of population who are highly educated. They are very adaptive to new technology. And then when there's a new technology being launched, people adapt to this new technology very quick. And Cyberjaya being the center of Malaysia's technology and innovation, we have a number of good companies who are based there. In fact, there are more than 40 over multinational companies such as Dell, IBM, and also we have quite a number of good Malaysian companies as well who have gone global, such as Aerodyne. Currently, it's the world's number three drone service provider, and hopefully there will be a number one fairly soon. So those are kind of technology, and they focus a lot on future innovation as well. So, for example, we have companies who built self-driving cars in Cyberjaya. We have companies which develop artificial intelligence, or robotics companies, and all of this. They are focusing in Cyberjaya because it's a place where they can develop the new technology, get people to adopt, and get it tested as well. And at the same time, you have a lot of good infrastructure. You have good support from the government to support new innovation. So I think the future is looking good. We just have to make sure that we keep on pushing the people to adopt new technologies and things like that.
Yes. One important thing, like as I engage with the academic arena and research, like how you develop your human resources when you build up this kind of high tech industry. You talking about aerodynes and many startup. I think you give lot of mentorship many startups in Malaysia. Like how you support and help the human resources, like how like country like South Asian different country they can learn from this cyber
Yeah.
jet.
Yeah, so probably I can speak more of not just for Cyberjaya alone. Actually, I think for the whole of Malaysia.
Yes.
In fact, I think the education system is fairly good, but of course we need more enhancement within the education system, especially from the early years. For example, probably in the early years. We need to focus more on giving education related to technology, such as coding and things like that. But if you go to universities, I think a lot of universities they have started to offer a lot of technology related courses. Even back in my student days, I actually studied technology as well. So and that was back in the 90s, and then of course it has evolved, it has improved quite significantly. But at the same time, we need more enhancement. But having said that, in terms of government support, for example, there are a number of agencies which continuously providing support to students who have graduated, for example. Sometimes what they study in the university may not always match what the industry needs. So there are additional lessons provided, additional courses provided to students so that they can enhance the skills. And at the same time, we have programs by certain agencies whereby they encourage you to be entrepreneurs. Agencies like Magic, for example. Magic stands for Malaysian Global Innovation and Creativity Center. There are also agency called Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation, which was actually started when Cyberjaya was started back in the 90s. So this we have a lot of numbers, moving parts here and there to make sure that the nation is always ready. I mean, we'll be ready for the future, ready for now and for the future as well.
One important thing, like every country now facing a lot of economic challenges, right? Like Malaysia also face. So as a innovators and innovative thinkers, what you think, how Malaysia actually overcome from these situations with the tech collaborations?
Yes, I think for most cases, even for Malaysia, for example, we have a lot of small and medium enterprises, and more than 90, I think close to about 98%. Um, we have all the small and medium enterprises in Malaysia. Probably one way or another have been affected by the recent pandemic. As you know, there's a huge mix of these kind of enterprises. Some have gone digital, but some have not. But then I guess when the pandemic happens, it actually provides opportunities for people to adapt to new technology because they realize that it is important for them to go digital. For example, when the lockdown happens, some of the businesses they're not able to do anything at all, so they started to lose on revenue, and then they have to start let go of people from the companies. But companies which have learn about digital, they learn about adapting to new technology, they're able to pivot. And then probably, for example, I know one company that does um, hiring of trucks or lorries, whereby it's like an Uber for lorries, for example. And during the pandemic, because no one's actually renting the trucks, so instead they provide delivery services. They help people to shop from supermarkets and then have them delivered to people's home. So these are the kind of things I think entrepreneurs or even business owners in Malaysia need to start thinking actively about digital and thinking about digital transformation to change the mindset, not just themselves and of course to their people as well. That it's important to be able to change and adapt fairly quick to different kinds of situation.
Okay, okay. Like any country, when
Mhm.
they think that they will engage with innovative industry, what's the basic things they have to think about first? Like what they have to do, the initially first level, then second level, or the final level? Like, do you have any strategy or any plan and any idea you want to share with us?
Yes, of course. I think essentially what is most important is actually you need to be able to provide good connectivity to the people. I think in even country like Malaysia, we're trying to push that good connectivity at home must be available to everyone, because if you don't have good connectivity nowadays, you're not able to access a lot of information. You're not able to do a lot of things, even for during this COVID-19 situation. I think most of us are at home, and we need to be able to have reliable connection for us to do, to do work from home, and for students to be able to go online and do e-learning, for example. So those is the most basic thing that probably a government can provide: a good connection, good infrastructure, and then of course you need to be able to have a good ecosystem as well, because you need a good ecosystem to be able to support all the different industries, or even the academia or universities and things like that. With a good ecosystem, good infrastructure, you're able to nurture, on new entrepreneurs. You'll be able to nurture, students to be interested in technology and things like that. And that would actually help accelerate the technology adoption in those countries.
Okay, very interesting. Basically, I think with your strategic point of view, I think many policymakers and the government and corporation, they will take some good initiative. One thing, like example, many countries in Asia, huge amount of people they lose their job. That is the fact in unemployment, and this may happen. So what do you think actually, what government should take initiative, or the corporate, or what's your advice for these people, how they again they getting their jobs, or what will be the next word actually? There are a lot more questions.
I think that's a huge challenge. I think faced by I think all countries around the world, especially since the pandemic started. It's because it's this the whole world is connected nowadays. So one country falls, and then everybody is actually affected in one way or another. So I guess there's no one easy answer. Of course, if you look at the whole situation as well, governments have been many governments around the world have been trying to inject capital, trying to inject money into the system to make sure that people are able to get some sort of like funds, even for businesses, for example, they're able to leverage on some funds that they can continue with the business. Of course, unfortunately, some companies are not able to survive. It's just the nature of what's been happening today. But for as my personal opinion, for people, it's because the internet nowadays it's so connected. You have so much information. You can learn a lot of new skills. So, for example, in Malaysia, there's a huge news currently have happened just a couple of days ago, whereby this lady, she was broadcasting her cooking skills online, and then within a
Mhm,
short period, I think just a couple of weeks, her YouTube channel, she was able to generate up to about 400,000 subscribers within a short
mhm,
period. And then, as you
mhm,
know, if you broadcast on YouTube, if you have huge number of followers, at the same time, you're able to get generate income from that. So these are just
mhm,
some things, just one example. I mean, if you are able to digitize yourself in terms of learning some skills, and of course if you can share some of the skills, teach people, probably one of the ways that you can should I say save yourself from this very fragile economy. But of course, there are other ways as well. It's as I said, there's a lot of new information you can find on the internet. There's always some learning opportunities for everyone.
yes, very interesting. I actually want to go more deep. Like, what do you think at present? Like, every countries go shut down, they stop their wars, lot of financial challenges. What's the future of globalization? What do you think? What will happen in the next few years?
Yeah, I think my opinion is that because everyone's talking about the new normal right now. For example, if you go to the office, you have to start scanning your temperature and things like that. So I guess still many of us still do not know what's going to happen for the next 6 or 12 months. But definitely the recession is already here. It's affecting a lot of companies. But I guess from what we all know, from every crisis, there's opportunity. So I guess in this sense, it's time for people to start thinking hard, developing new types of solutions, developing new types of business ideas that would actually fit to for the future. So I mean, if you just give one example, I mean, what happened during World War II? It was then. I mean, people generated a lot of new ideas to develop new types of weapons to be used during World War. So I think we are actually quite in a similar situation, whereby during the World War II, it happened for a couple of years. But if you're talking about our current war with the virus, it's only we can say it's only for 5 months. It is still quite short compared to what happened during the World War. But I guess, as I mentioned, no one can really predict what can happen. I mean, last year, no one can actually predict it, that this will become a pandemic that would actually happen uh, around the world and affected everyone. So yeah, for business people, I think you need to have to start to think about new business ideas. For entrepreneurs, they have to start to think outside of the box. I think everyone need to play a role. If anyone develop a new type of business, I think if you can support them, probably you should, because that would actually help ideas move forward and probably change the landscape of all the different industries around the world.
Yes. One important thing, like we have, even in Malaysia, we have huge small medium enterprise, even many small shop, many small business owners. So, how they survive? What's the strategy they can make for survival, and what's actually happening in Malaysia? Like, what's your suggestion? How do you see in terms of innovation and technology implementation this small business?
Yeah. But talking about small and medium enterprises, or even if we talk about simple shops that are selling food and things like that. As you know, technology is not always the barrier. It's always about the mindset, about the people, whether they're willing enough to try technology, to adopt to new technology. So when I was working for this one of the government-owned companies that was pushing Cyberjaya to be a global technology hub, I was actually in charge of pushing the cashless adoption within Cyberjaya. So it was a hard work because people, some are willing to use their smartphone for payment. Some, when you approach some of the shop owners, they said, "Oh no, I'm not gonna take payment from smartphones. I'm just gonna use my cash." But boom, when the pandemic happened, I think those who have already on the using technology, I think they felt quite relieved because they can, implement quite quickly. They can start, uh, doing delivery service. They can accept cashless payment fairly quick. So I guess for these kind of shop owners or business owners, always think about technology. I mean, it doesn't have to be high tech. For example, there's in Malaysia, there's already a good infrastructure that you can leverage on, that you can use. You can adopt a lot of different government agencies are willing to assist in many ways. So they should leverage on that as well. And even some of the companies, like companies like Touch and Go, probably Grab, and some of the other fintech companies in Malaysia, they're actually willing to assist small and medium businesses to help them adopt to new technologies, or even actually get them digitized, and then to be able uh, for these business owners to reach their customers.
Okay, okay. Another important thing, Malaysia is a very beautiful country, very good infrastructures. I think Malaysia has a very good attraction from tourists. Uh, so what will be the tourism industry? There are a lot of hotel tourism related thing, universities, even I think health tourism also part of that. What do you think, like for the tourism industry in Malaysia
Yes, I
or
think yeah, Malaysia relies on tourism quite a lot actually. In fact, in this year supposed to be a Visit Malaysia 2020, but unfortunately due to the virus situation, I guess it will affect a lot on this Visit Malaysia 2020 campaign. In fact, you're right. There's a lot of interesting places to visit in Malaysia. We have, the old rainforest. We have nice beaches. We have mountains, and even lots of beautiful places that you can visit. You have modern cities like Kuala Lumpur. You have jungles of Borneo, where I'm actually from. So those kind of things. Of course, as I mentioned, this is the tourism industry in Malaysia. It's greatly affected. I guess there's no running away from that. I think, as you mentioned, some of the hotels have started to close down. Some of the travel agencies, either they downsize or they just simply close shops. But then again, as I mentioned, probably this is the right time for business owners, or or people who are related to the travel industry or tourism industry to look into how can they digitize their business. Maybe, for example, I'm just going to give you one example. Museum. If museum you're not allowed to visit, what if you can digitize the whole museum experience? And then if you organize, example, conferences, we invite um, participants from around the world. What if you digitize the conferences, make it truly immersive, and then as though you're actually visiting the conference, you're actually meeting the people. You've seen the technology and the movie Avatar, for example. That's actually one example. How do you make the experience more immersive, make it almost like a reality? I mean, you don't have to be fully 100% like what you see on the movies, but even if you have some elements of it, if you can actually reach the objectives, getting people to experience travel, getting people to experience the conferences, the overseas conferences, I guess that's probably already giving you an edge or one way or another. If you're a business owner who don't have technology knowledge, this is the great time to start to collaborate with people who have technology access, because they might be looking for potential customers, but if they can collaborate to work on something together with a travel company, that's probably something that people should start to think about.
Okay. Another important thing, I think this is most important and vital issue. I think it's a vaccine. So, as you are from tech industry and vaccine and this kind of thing is a part of biotech industry, how actually Malaysia working on it, or like these vaccines, or what will be the solutions and what the government strategy for this vaccine? What's your idea? How they work?
Unfortunately, I won't be able to comment much on that end, but as far as I know, Malaysia is involved in some of the trials, medical trials, for if I'm not mistaken, some medicines and probably vaccines as well. That I'm not 100% sure, but for example, if you look at the whole of Southeast Asia, which is home to over 600 million people, there are already some trials currently being conducted, if I'm not mistaken, in Singapore. So I guess, given the this region in Southeast Asia, Malaysia cannot be a champion in everything. So how we leverage on all the advantages from different countries. For example, Singapore is always known as the financial hub for Southeast Asia. They're also one of the hubs, innovation hubs in Southeast Asia. This is probably a good time for all the different countries to be learning and leveraging from each other.
This is important. I know you have a lot of historic knowledge. You are from Borneo. I want to know, like even my audience want to know more. So the beautification of Malaysia. You are expert in on history. I know you have a strong networking on that point and strong view. Can you share some of your thoughts, historical thoughts, and
Mhm.
your Borneo history, and share with our audience, please?
Yeah, sure, of course. As you know, Malaysia has quite a long history. Uh, um, it started off, being you can say it's the center of Southeast Asia. So it's very close to one of the major shipping routes, global shipping routes, whereby even back a couple of 100 years ago, we have a lot of visitors or even travelers from Europe and from other parts of the world, which make Malaysia as a stopping place when they travel around the world. So this actually gives us a lot of a mix of different cultures, which is, I can say, it's quite diverse actually. So even if you, I believe, Sharif, when you first came to Malaysia, I guess you're pretty quite surprised as well, the amount of mixture and the diversity of the people here. So the place where I'm from Borneo, Borneo is actually the third largest island in the world. Um, so it's currently occupied by three different countries. We have Malaysia, Indonesia, and Brunei. These are the three countries occupying the large island of Borneo. So on the northern part of Borneo, called North Borneo back then, was a British colony. It had amazing, rich history as well. Um, so even back then, couple of 100 years, we had visitors, as I mentioned earlier, visitors from all the different continents visiting North Borneo, or today is known as Sabah. It becomes a melting pot of culture. So if you go to Sabah nowadays, you go on North Borneo, you get people are so friendly. People are very welcoming. It's very diverse. People speak different multiple languages. So all those things. So that is why when I started a historical society called North Borneo Historical Society back in 2011, it's because I was so fascinated by the history of my state. In fact, I'm actually not a history lover. I don't
Mhm.
actually like history when I was in high school.
Okay.
You know, but for some reason, because of the rich history, um, then I started to think, how come I cannot find good information about Sabah, about Sabah's history? So I started a historical society whereby I put in all the different information from what I found on the internet, from the library, and from the archives, and put them into a single digitized platform whereby people can refer to, people can immerse themselves into history, and now the started a Facebook page called North Borneo Historical Society. So it's growing. It's a growing page. Currently, I have about 60,000 of followers, and my
Okay.
followers they come from all over the world, from Australia, from the UK, US, you name it.
Very interesting. Very interesting. One of the important things is Malaysian delicious food, because when I come to Malaysia, I think I gain at least 10 kilo of my weight because there are very beautiful food, very delicious. Can I
Yeah.
know about the Malaysian food from you, like food processing, anything? How it's so delicious, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. So just a couple of minutes ago, I mentioned about Malaysia being a melting pot of culture. We have a lot of diversity. In fact, three of the biggest races in Malaysia would be the Malays, and then you have the Chinese, Indian. Of course, you have the native tribes from Borneo, and of course, some parts of Malaysia as well. So because of this different mix of culture, of course, that gets translated into when people cook food, they tend to use ingredients from all these different mix of cultures, and then that in turn created a lot of variety of food, delicious food. In fact, I know a lot of people when they come to Malaysia, they always talk about food, and even even during this pandemic, a lot of shops who have started to offer food delivery. So you're spoiled for choice. You have so many choices, you're not even sure. So even if I go to my on my food delivery app, I tend to spend 20 or 30 minutes just to find out what do I want to eat, because there's so many
Yeah.
choices. So
Yes.
there's varieties. So and then of course later on we have more expats living in Malaysia. You have Japanese, Korean, people from China, and of course people from the West as well. And then they started to bring their own food as well, and then it creates more fusion type of food, Malaysian plus Western mixed together, and creates even more delicious food. So if you're coming to Malaysia, make sure that Sharif take you to taste all the different foods, the street food, the different restaurants. You can also contact me. I'm happy to show you around as well.
Yes, yes. This is really one thing actually. Like there are, you said there are three different nationalities. They live together. Is it the challenge for Malaysia, or it by this way it make more stable nations, or they become more gentlemen? What's your idea? Or even different language, different cultures, very peacefully how you live together here.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the hallmark of Malaysia. It's due to long history. As you know, the three major races would be the Malay, the Chinese, the Indian, and of course you have the native tribes from all different parts of Malaysia. I'm actually from Borneo, as I mentioned earlier. I'm also a mix of Chinese native tribe of Borneo called Kadazan, and also Filipino. My mom, she's actually from the Philippines when she moved to Malaysia when she was little. And then, yeah, because of this, it creates interesting diversity in Malaysia where people need to learn to respect each other's culture. And then that gets, translated in the society. So even at work, we get to interact with people from all races. And of course, when you grow up, when you study as well, there's a lot of lessons and education about unity, the importance of unity, and things like that. So it has become part of the Malaysian culture. Although some political happening around Malaysia here and there, of course, it's also in some parts of the unity, but not so much. But it happens. I mean, I think it happens anywhere around the world. But in most cases, Malaysia is still peaceful. People still respect each other. Usually during a celebration like Eid, which is going to happen in the next few days, normally people visit each other during festivities, and people celebrate each other's celebration.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Actually, Malaysia has a lot of festivals,
And
like
holidays,
Eid, and
holidays,
yeah, even a lot of holidays. Like how even when I first come Malaysia, it's very difficult for me to adjust. This cultural program, that cultural program. Now, actually, this lockdown period, I feel very bored. Like how beautiful Malaysia, how things are moving every 1 to 3 months there are some of the like cultural activities, some of
yeah,
the religious activities. We actually really enjoy these things. Even
yeah,
in this Ramadan, actually all of the mosques closed. So last 3 and 4 years I used to go to mosque, and a lot of people actually come to the mosque. We
yeah,
food eat food together. This is I really miss these things. And
yeah.
one thing about like you are a very good singer. You love to share some of the your singing about the Malaysian local music or something with our
Singing?
audience.
No, I
Yes.
don't sing. My mom sings. She sings.
Okay. Okay. What's you love to do? Like when you, I know you are a very busy corporate professional, but when you have your leisure time, actually, what you love to do or how you spend your time?
Well, I mean, before the whole thing happened, before the pandemic happened, I like to watch movies. In fact, I normally go movies at least once a week. We have very good cinemas in Malaysia. It's extremely cheap to watch movies, and so all the latest movies normally they get released even 1 or 2 days before they get released in the United States. So we always get to watch the latest movies, even in IMAX format and things like that. So I spend a lot of time, no, some time watching movies and reading as well. At the same time, I love doing digital marketing because it challenges my creativity. This is where I spend time, with all the social media platforms that I own. I usually experiment a lot of different things and how do people react to certain posts, certain kind of posts. How do I increase the amount of people sharing a post, for example, and also learn about copywriting and how to do growth hacking, how do you increase more traffic to the websites, and things like that. At the same time, I have pets at home, so I spend quite a number of time with them, with my pets. I have a cat, I have dogs. Yeah, and then of course at the same time I like to do some outdoor activities. I live in Cyberjaya, so we have very nice parks here. We have a huge lake. We can just visit, and of course at the same time you can, just drive around Kuala Lumpur and just visit around all the beautiful places.
Okay, interesting. Already, one of the audience asked you one of the questions. His name is Mohammad Shoaib Rana. He's actually supporting a lot. Like we have a very strong team, professional team. He's actually one of the tech guy. from Bangladesh. He asked you a question. Richard, do you think after this corona pandemic free world, IT sector will get more benefit as the people are used to online activities?
All right. Hi. Yeah, I guess I don't think it's the pandemic is not going to go away soon unless we find the vaccine
Yes.
fairly quick. Otherwise, we just have to live with the coronavirus, live along with the coronavirus for quite some time. We don't know how long. Just as I mentioned much earlier in my sharing session, we are like in a war. And during World War II, it happened a couple of years. So this is we are just entering probably the fourth or fifth month into the war with the coronavirus. So I guess as the audience Mohammad Shohel Rana asked the question, I think many companies have started to realize the importance of going digital, and I guess
Mhm.
this is a great opportunity I mentioned earlier for IT companies to start approaching all these business owners on how to digitalize their business. Because if you still rely on pen and papers, you need to rely on physical spaces, you still store your data on local computers, you're not storing them in the cloud, for example. This is surely going to affect your business one way or another. So don't wait until it's over. I don't think it's going to be over soon. Start spending some time building relationship, bringing value. Even if you're not actually getting the business right away, but probably offer something to them that would actually benefit them. Maybe if IT companies can do lessons on how do you start storing your documents in the cloud so that your staff are able to access them at any time without actually having to rely on pen and paper. I don't know, that's just one easy example. As I said, there's a lot of resources online. Just find them and probably try to push this out to your potential customers.
One important thing, let's say from Bangladesh, he's from Bangladesh.
Mhm.
There's a huge population, 160 million people, 57% youth. So I think more than 80 million people, they are actually youth. They are,
Mhm.
I think they can learn from you actually. Like when they focus on their hard skill, like what should give the like priority, like how they improve their hard skill, because I know that from Bangladesh we have many world class trainer for soft skills, even
Mhm.
we have it, but as you running this you have experience to uh, like work in a Cyberjaya, so how they improve their hard skills, what area they should focus right now, uh, what your suggestion and advice for the youth?
Yeah, so you won't be able to run away from technology. I think even from a lot of the new generations today, they are very quite, I should say, very adaptive to new technology. Of course, if you're just talking about social media, a lot of them are already on Instagram, on Snapchat, or even TikTok. But simply just being on that platform is not really enough. But if you can leverage on those platforms to learn more about digital marketing, for example, there's actually a good opportunity because digital marketing won't go away. Any business, any types that actually goes to converting themselves to be a digital based business, they will need sort of like a marketing that relies on digital campaigns and things like that. And for students, for youth, as I mentioned, technology won't go away, but so it's also a good opportunity to learn on how to code, how do you develop websites, how do you develop a smartphone app, and a lot of these resources are actually available online for free. You can just even if you just Google something on YouTube, you're able to give you some lessons on how to make a simple smartphone app. I mean, just start something. If you imagine, if you learn one something new every day, if you accumulate that in within a year, you get to learn 365 new things within 1 year.
Mhm. Yes, one of the important things, like as a consultant, I get a lot of call from Bangladesh, suddenly from let's say from hotel and tourism industry, they call me, oh, I have a five-star hotels, but I need to shut down. I do not have options. I'm losing my business. Universities, schools, many private organizations, they are trying to get the solution. What Malaysia can do, like as you have you have a cultural understanding. I think country like South Asia and Malaysia is not so far. We have a very good cultural affiliations, as well
Mhm.
as you have a very good professional experience. How
Mhm.
Malaysia can help country like Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, and this kind of country. Like even for this kind of corporations, those who losing their business and they want help and they want collaborations.
Yeah.
How do you think? How do you advise?
Okay, so I guess one of the advantages of Malaysia, it's kind of a political. So we're not really siding on any of the big blocks normally. So we're quite apolitical in that sense. So it's quite easy for us to to work with many countries around the world.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's actually one of the advantages of Malaysia. But at the same
Mhm.
time, a lot of the Malaysian-based businesses, they're always willing to, they want to go expand their businesses to other countries. Sometimes they face a lot of challenges, entering new markets where they're not familiar with, they do not know anyone. So I guess in terms of pandemic like this, perhaps it's a good opportunity for both sides, either from Bangladesh or people from Malaysia, to leverage on a situation, to get to learn from each other, learn about the ecosystem in certain countries, learn about the business practices, and then leverage on a platform like LinkedIn. LinkedIn provides a great opportunity for you to connect with anyone, even even the high level uh, management from some companies. You can just simply request a connection, as long as you're not trying to hard sell anything. If you're just trying to bring value to each other, it's fairly easy to connect. And then this is when you spend time to build relationship. So for example, if once the countries around the world started to lift the movement control order, for example, when traveling is already allowed, probably that's when you get, you can just simply visit Bangladesh, for example, because there's a direct flight from KL, right, Sharif? There's a direct
Yes,
flight.
yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes. It's actually like 3.5 hours.
3.5 hours. So it's so
Yes.
fast, so near, so fast. I mean, probably that's a good time to actually meet and talk about business. But even right now, there's an opportunity for you to interact with people fairly easily, especially with technology like this, like for example Zoom, even like this platform StreamYard that we're using right now. It's already a good platform able to connect with many people. So take advantage of learning about other cultures, learning about the business practices in those countries, learning about the pain points and things like
Mhm.
that. I'm sure there's always something that can be resolved. Something people are always looking for solution to problems, and this is where companies can offer to each other and probably gain businesses.
Mhm. Very interesting. Actually, the more we move forward, we're learning a lot. I have a good confidence on you. I said my team that he's a very exclusive for these interview sessions. Another important thing, like when many people come from South Asia to Malaysia, they try to start their business. Then I think that Malaysian peoples and their culture is very tech oriented right now. They go e-commerce and many things, and many people actually fail. So let's say a small medium entrepreneurs, he come to Malaysia and he want to start some business, but he do not have enough technology oriented knowledge and these things. How they get help from Cyberjaya, or how they can collaborate with people like you? Because I saw there is a huge gap actually. Let's say they want to build up something culturally. Malaysia want to build up something, because Malaysia is a very good place for business and this kind of thing. Everybody want to come. So how we can minimize this gap? What your suggestions? How we can interact more entrepreneurs with this tech savvy ecosystem?
Okay. Malaysia, it's a small country. We have just slightly more than 32 million people. I think it's 33
Mhm.
now. No, it's not a big country. It's fairly small population compared to countries like Indonesia, Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, and some other surrounding countries. So for since I was working with the government-owned company before, we were trying to promote Cyberjaya and of course promote Malaysia as a destination for business as well. In fact, Malaysia was actually ranked one of the easiest places to do business around the world. Can't exactly remember what is the ranking, but it's actually one of the highest rankings.
Yes.
Um, it's quite relatively easy because of the language. People speak multiple languages. Even if you fly to Malaysia, you see all the signboards and everything. It's fairly easy to understand. A lot of the languages are in English and things like that. But if you want to look specifically to learn, you don't normally come to Malaysia to learn about technology, but you learn about the business, about the culture, because each country is unique. Even if you come to Malaysia, if you come to this region in Southeast Asia, what you experience in Malaysia will be totally different in the Philippines, will be totally different in Thailand and Indonesia. So the whole region itself, it's very interesting. It makes up more than 600 million people. It's quite a huge population, a huge potential for any types of businesses as long as they're able to understand the business, the culture. So maybe you guys can learn from Sharif. He's been based here for a couple of years now. Um, like he gets to learn, what's happening around the region. He also, interacted with me. He approached me last time. I can't remember how, but we've been establishing a connection where we get to exchange ideas about businesses on both sides. So, as I mentioned, don't come here to learn about technology, but learn on how to operate your business, learn about the culture,
Exactly.
yeah, and things like that.
Yes, yes, very interesting. My last questions, because it's a very good session, very informative sessions, and my last question, like, how, like in COVID-19 situation, we can make our ecosystem more friendly for the peoples, and in this region, Asia Pacific markets, how we can work together. What's your advice? What's your thoughts, and how we can do work together in these situations? And
I think one of the biggest lessons that we learned from this pandemic is it's possible to do online conferencing. It's quite easy.
Mhm.
Simply launch, all the different available platforms out there, and you're able to do meetings with people fairly quick. I don't know. I guess that's what I feel. I mean, before the pandemic, we rarely do, online conferencing. We normally say, okay, let's meet physically and talk. Of course, it's always nice to meet physically, but I guess when everything is digitized, it makes it possible to do almost anything online nowadays. So I guess,
Mhm.
for example, if you're talking about enriching the ecosystem is always about people. How do you connect people? How do you connect businesses? And if you can leverage on that, build new connection, make new connection, and then bring value to each other, teach people or share information that you know with people, bring value to them. And this is how you enrich the ecosystem. You're able to make it, places more business friendly. Even I can ask you, Sharif, about businesses in Bangladesh. How do I start a business and things like that? So I truly appreciate this session, Sharif, that you're doing for everyone in the audience tonight. Um, yeah, basically sharing session, and this is an opportunity for us to be learning from each other, and
Yes.
hopefully we can enrich the ecosystem. We can enrich the business environment, not just physically, but of course digitally as well.
Yes, very interesting. I just want to share with you. He's even my professors, and he was president of Bangladesh Society for Human Resource Management. He has a great influence in Bangladesh, all of the corporate and government. He's a big mentor even for Bangladesh. His name is Musharraf Hossain. He said it's excellent programs, and he congratulates you. Thank you.
Thank
This is actually brilliant programs. It's a very, I am sure many people as Mr. Mosharraf Hossain's and this kind of intellectual people actually observing your program. many government officials and the many corporate executives, and especially Musharraf sir. I want to give you thanks because you congratulate us. I am sure it will be very effective for friendly relationship in between Bangladesh and Malaysia, and hopefully we will learn together, we will work together, and this actually world talent economic forum, we are trying to involve with the more talented people like you, and we will make a better world and better ecosystem. Thank you, Richards. We are really appreciate your session, and hopefully we will learn many more things from you in the futures. Thank you for your time and everything.
Thank you
Yes.
very much, and stay safe.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you.
All right. Good night.
Welcome.